That is why he is the captain. The Knicks go down to New Orleans. They play against the injury-riddled Pelicans. No Zion, no Ingram. They're missing a ton of pieces. And they come out, they start out the game scrappy. They're forcing a bunch of turnovers. Knicks go into the half down by 5, 49-44. And then they come out in the third quarter and the lead balloons to, I think it was 12. I think we were down by 14 at one point, maybe. And then Jalen Brunson said, enough. He ends up having 39 total points, 6 assists, 13 of 19 from the field, 7 of 10 from behind the arc. Aye, captain. He just refused to let the Knicks lose this game. You know, the Knicks, they came out, like I said, a little bit sluggish. I thought that, offensively, we weren't shooting the ball well. And in that first quarter, defensively, we weren't defending as intensely as we need to. But then as the game went along, you could see that Brunson was like, hey, this is an off night for Karl-Anthony Towns. Early foul trouble. He ends up with only 11 points, 10 rebounds. He gets that double-double to continue his streak. I think he's at 17 games now. He's at a double-double in all but 2 games this season that he's played. But he wasn't getting it going. He's only 3 of 10. And I thought that the real offensive keys were both Brunson and then the reclamation project, the guy who a couple weeks ago everybody was wondering, was it a bad trade? Should we have brought this guy? Can he handle wearing that orange and blue jersey? But now our guy, Mikal Bridges, is just putting in consistent performances on both ends night after night. Bridges ends up with 18 points. He's 7 of 16, 3 of 6 from behind the arc. And he just gets it done, man. Bridges is continuing to show that when he has a certain mindset of being aggressive offensively, and when he has a mindset to be out there and really guard at the port of attack and navigate and get around screens, that he is one of the better two-way players in the NBA. Bridges, it is good to have you, I wouldn't say back, I guess here for the first time, we should say. But us Knicks fans, we do not have a ton of patience. And I was one of them that I wasn't out here saying like, yo, get rid of this guy. But I was saying, hey, man, I'm not seeing the player that I've seen before in opposing jerseys when it comes to his ability to be able to defend at the point of attack and his ability to be able to shoot the ball. I'm not seeing it. I don't know what's going on. Whatever the case may be, Bridges has adjusted, and he is now a very valuable, a vital part of this team. And like I said, one of the best two-way players, and we really are seeing the defense that we expected at the beginning of the season. It just took us a little time to round into form. And now you look up, and the Knicks are the third best defensive team in the NBA in the month of December. They've won 13 of their last 17 games. They've won 5 in a row on the road, and they sit at 18-10 and third in the Eastern Conference. You know, this had the potential to be one of those games where it's like, okay, we take 2 steps forward, but we always take a step back. We lose a game to a team that we shouldn't. Pelicans have 5 wins on the season. You cannot take that L. And Brunson came out, and once they got behind a little bit more in the third quarter, Brunson said no. He said, absolutely not. And he just went off. He's pulling up from everywhere. He is finding the angle and putting up shots from what seemed like impossible angles. And he's able to just kiss it off the glass. And Brunson he's very great at, if he can't get all the way to that typical angle that's easy for the glass, but he's not quite at that, Tim Duncan further out, but he's right in between there. And he just finds a way to put it up at just the precise right trajectory. And that thing bounces high off the square and goes in with incredible regularity. If you're viewing on YouTube right now, or you're on X, give a like, reshare it, go ahead, subscribe to the channel if you're not already subscribed. If you're subscribed on one platform and not the other one, go subscribe on that one. Appreciate all the love. And if you're in there, man, holler at me in the comments, man. How are y'all feeling? How are we feeling about the Knicks right now? Where we're at right now, 18-10. We got a couple more games left in the calendar year, and then the second half of the season is very much approaching. All-Star break is right around the corner. How you feeling about these Knicks? Because right now, personally, I'm feeling pretty good, especially with what I'm seeing on the defensive end here. Because we know that this team can score. And it showed last night that even in a game when we don't put up 120 points and we don't have gaudy offensive numbers, if we can lock down on the D, then we can still win a lot of games, even when we don't have it clicking. When we have it clicking on offense, those games are going to be blowouts. I thought that, listen, this Pelicans team, I know that they have a lot of injuries, but they're scrappy, they're long, they're athletic. Those long athletic wings, the type of people that have been giving Jalen Brunson and the Knicks problems. And you saw Herbert Jones, really trying to get up in him, pause. But Brunson, he took a little bit time to get going, but when he decided it was time to start, flamethrowing, he did his thing. He was pulling up from everywhere. You could tell he was feeling it. And the Knicks had that point in the third where they kind of loosened up on the rope a little bit. Brunson refused to let go of the rope. And then even when he first started cooking, the defense still wasn't quite raising up to the intensity level that we quite needed it. But that as well started to get ratcheted up. And then as an entire unit, we just got it going in that third quarter, and then we never looked back. But Trey Murphy, listen, guy can shoot. He's long. He's athletic. Had a very good game last night. He ends up with 26 points. I saw some flashes of the old CJ McCollum, but injuries have really robbed that guy. I mean, he's had a couple collapsed lungs. I know he's had something with a knee or an ankle or something like that one year that, took away most of his season. And when you look at CJ, it's like, man, this guy at one point was one of the best, combo guards in the league. Him and Dame Dollar doing work out in Portland. And now he's a shell of himself. He's not the guy that he used to be. He ends up being 5 of 13 points, but you do see some flashes sometimes. I like this guy, Missy. The center, this guy's athletic. He plays hard. He's a fucking pogo stick. This guy Missy is a player, man. This guy Missy is a player. I like him. I like his game. And, he was giving Towns problems a little bit to a certain extent. Towns, a lot of his problems were self-induced, stupid fouls. He also, again, I feel like the whistle that he gets is crazy. There was one point where he got called for a carry, and I mean, the guy bumps him and then he carries the ball, but there's no call. Brunson gets beat up all up and down the court, and he seems like he doesn't get the call that he deserves most of the time. Even Mike Breen was saying on the telecast last night that Brunson takes a lot of contact and does not get a fair whistle. Breen is always so careful about how he talks about the referees and always tries to point out, how hard of a job it is. And when he's crushing the refs, there's something there. Brunson is getting beat up and he just doesn't get the whistles. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what else this guy has to do to earn the respect of anybody associated with basketball, including the referees. But JB continues to push through. What a game last night, man. I mean, it was my dad and I were watching the game together, and we said we haven't even really seen Brunson get like just red hot yet this year. Well, we saw it. We saw it in that third quarter. Let's talk about Brunson specifically in the third quarter and what he did. So Brunson in the third quarter alone, he was 6 of 8 from the field, 4 of 5 from 3. And many of those were from 2 and 3 feet behind the arc. Totally changed the game after we had gotten down. He ends up having 16 points just in the third quarter alone. It was beautiful to watch. When Brunson gets it going like that, man, it's so fun to watch. Like I said, he had the float game going. He had the in-between off the glass going. He had the turnaround fadeaway, off of the good footwork going. And then he's just pulling up from the parking lot and everything is water. JB, man. That's why he's the captain. That is why he's the captain. Karl-Anthony Towns, like I said, not a great night for him as far as statistics are concerned. But one thing that I liked that Jamal Crawford said is that, when you look at Karl-Anthony Towns, he didn't have the biggest night, but he stayed engaged. He stayed in the game. He had to sit down because of the fouls, but when he did come back in the fourth, he had a big, he had a big bucket towards the end. I think it was an and one, and then he just the thing about that guy is, man, is his spirit and his love for the game and for his teammates. It's palpable. It's so easy to see, especially when you contrast it with the guy he was just traded for, who we just got to see the full Julius Randle experience. And, I think because I was reading some of what the Minnesota people were saying, my Twitter algorithm now is giving me a lot more Minnesota fans talking about, what's happening in the latest T-Wolves game. And I tell you, Julius he's not well liked by that fan base at the moment. And it's a lot of the things that we saw, a lot of the things that I made excuses for, because I like Julius and I realized how much he meant to the Knicks. But when he's away, it's like a X, once you get out of that spell and you look back on it and you're like, damn, what was I doing? That's kind of how I feel about, my Julius Randle stand act that I've pulled these last couple of years, because when you see the lack of attention to detail on defense and the phantom pointing over to a guy like, hey, go get him, when that guy's just running to the basket and getting a layup, and the not rotating the Steph Curry in last night's game, and Steph is just, lighting things up as they, were up big against the Warriors, but ended up losing the game. It's a lot of the same stuff that we saw. And no matter what you say about Julius's game, which it definitely lacks efficiency. There's lots of dribbles, and he's not the quick decision maker that somebody like Cat is. One of the things that you see that is so clear is just his overall body language and attitude, man, and how that can affect a team in a locker room. And when you juxtapose that against Karl-Anthony Towns, who seems like he just loves his teammates, loves the game, and is just, he seems like he's a joy to be around, quite frankly. Karl-Anthony Towns is one of the few players ever who came to the Knicks, and he needed that New York scrutiny. He needed that weight that they say that jersey. Say it's the heaviest jersey in the NBA to wear. He needed that. That brought something more out of Cat. Cat has grown from that. And even in a game like this game against the Pelicans, where he doesn't do what you expect from him on the offensive end, you can still see that his spirit it doesn't change. He sits for a long time with the foul trouble. He gets back in the game, and his spirit is the same. You're going to have off nights, but you can always control your attitude. And Karl-Anthony Towns, he brings a great attitude to basketball and to being a New York Knick. OG had a pretty good game. He ends up being 6 of 17 from the floor, 16 points, 2 of 8 from 3. He's continuing to struggle from 3. I'm really, really hoping that OG gets it going again like he had early in the season. I don't need 40 from you like you had in Denver, OG, but the 3-point shooting and the fact that he hasn't been hitting them at the percentages that we're used to is getting a little bit alarming, but small sample size. OG will get it together. OG was fantastic on the defensive end, as always. Just everywhere. I mean, really, to me, defensive player of the year should definitely be in the conversation. First team on defense is a lock for OG Anunoby. He's just, hey, Julius got off in that first quarter, 15 points. We put OG on him. I don't hear anything else from Ju. And then against the Pelicans, OG just seemed to be everywhere. Help defense, point of attack, in the pass lanes. He just does it all. He's a defensive savant. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing to watch. He's worth every single penny. And he gives you something on the offensive end as well, especially when he's being decisive in the paint. OG should not dribble the ball more than 3 times, ever. Once he starts to dribble a little bit more, somebody's snatching that shit away from him. Or he's losing it and fumbling it at something. It's interesting because you can't dribble around OG without him stealing it from you, but he's also a person who, when he starts dribbling in traffic, it seems like it's immediately getting taken all the time. But when he's decisive and he's either hitting that three or he's going to the basket, he's a great cutter. Him and Bridges are both excellent cutters. And the Knicks had some great plays where, Josh Hart is up in the air and finding a cutting Bridges for a layup. And, I think another one where Brunson is up in the air and finding and cutting Bridges or cutting OG. The basketball is beautiful to watch. It truly, truly is. They move without the ball. They are all willing passers. And that's why you have, once again, a starting five where everybody scores in double digits. Josh Hart ends up with 14 points, 8 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 steals. That's just a Josh Hart game. OG with 3 steals as well, 5 rebounds, 3 assists. Just a good, spread out, well-balanced game from the starting lineup, with the bright spot being Brunson. Brunson burner. 13 and 19 is crazy, man. He got so, man, when he started getting hot in that third and he started pulling up and he's, you could tell he's feeling himself, and it's just like, yo, a year ago, didn't Becky Hammond say that he's not a 1A dude? Yo, can somebody find her and ask her what she thinks now? Because all this, he's not a 1A dude. It's the wildest thing I ever heard. And he's done nothing but prove it since. I actually got a tweet pulled up right here from Tommy Bear. Total points scored in the year since Becky made those comments. Jalen Brunson, 22-32. Giannis, 21-74. Anthony Edwards, Luka, Jason Tatum, Nicole, Jokic. The most points scored since then has been Jalen Marquise Brunson. So he's clearly a 1A player. That's not even a conversation anymore. The guy was in the the running for MVP last year. He was in the top 5, so he's clearly a 1A player. Yo, my man Buzzer Beater, what's up? Salute. Live in the chat. Appreciate you, man. Salute to you. Salute to the captain, Jalen Brunson, because that man he got it done last night, man. He just looked like he had that killer instinct, and once a couple fell, it was a wrap. And the Pelicans knew it too. They were trying so hard to do everything to get the ball out of his hand, to have, to double him at the, as soon as he's getting over half court. And then the Knicks made a smart adjustment. They started having Josh Hart initiate the offense a little bit. And now Brunson's able to get it where he's in a place to, really, where the defense is coming at him and they're a little bit behind, and it's not just them gearing everything towards him. I think that's something we need to do more of. We need to have more Josh Hart or somebody else initiating. Bridges can do it as well. And then, just getting Brunson off the ball a little bit more. Buzzer Beater, he's asking, so is Brunson our first option or Cat? I don't think we have a first option. I think that's what you see out of this team. And the beauty is that this is a team where it's similar to those late 60s, early 70s Knicks, where it's just about moving the ball and getting somebody a good shot on every possession. I think if you had to define it and say, oh, who's our number one option? I think it is Brunson. Yes. I think it's always going to be a guard over a big man, because a big man at the end of the day has to be given the ball. But I also think that, on any given night, Cat, Bridges, Brunson, any of them can take over. Bridges is our leading scorer in the month of December. Think about that. So I think that really has a lot to do with who's got to go in that night. But I think on every possession, these guys are just trying to run the offense and get a good shot. There's no, this guy's got to get a shot. And that's another difference between a team with Karl-Anthony Towns as opposed to Julius Randle. Because as we know, Julius Randle, there's certain possessions where he's putting it up. No matter what's going on, he's going to put it up. And, I think what you just said, as far as sometimes Brunson saves us, sometimes it's Cat, Buzzer Beater, you're right. And sometimes it's going to be Bridges. Sometimes it's going to be OG. That's the beauty of what we have in front of us with this Knicks team. and how well balanced they are. And now we see the defense starting to catch up with where the offense has been all season. Shout out to Keith Watkins out in ATL. I've been down there more than a few times, and it's good times in ATL. You know, we got Knicks fans everywhere for sure. Everywhere we go, man. You heard it last night in New Orleans. MVP chance for Brunson. You got MVP chance for Brunson in New Orleans in December. Those Knicks fans, man, they travel and they come out and they support. You know, I'm out in Phoenix now, and I've been to the Knicks game every single season since I've lived out here over 10 years. And there's always just as many Knicks fans in there as there is Suns fans. I had a polo, the Knicks polo on the last time because I came straight from work, and some cat over at the bar area was calling me coach. He's like, man, you look like a coach. Hey, man, the Knicks travel, man. We out here. When Deuce puts up a shot, I don't care what arena it is, you're going to hear it. You're going to hear it. And, you know, like he said, we have two number one options. We really, really do. We have two 1A players. They are going to both make the All-Star game. Cat's definitely going to start. There's no center in the East even close. And Brunson, obviously, if you ask me, he should be a starter. The thing about Brunson is that he's scoring a little bit less, but the assists are obviously up. And if you watch, he's just doing such a good job of getting guys involved and making sure that everybody is eating. He struggled with that a little bit early on, and now he's made the adjustment. That's what Brunson's always going to do. He's always going to figure it out. You remember that playoff run he had last year? Do you remember how he started off the playoffs with a few of the worst games he's ever had? He figures it out. The guy's a worker. And yeah, as far as those all-star ballots, I filled out one yesterday. I'll fill one out again today. I got obviously Brunson and Cat. I think those two should be all-stars. I'm not the guy who just goes in and picks all the Knicks. No, I really don't vote for other players from other teams unless, certain years where there's a guy who I really feel like, deserves some shine, but I'll go in and I'll vote for Brunson and Cat every single day. For sure. No doubt. Shamet is a Knick. He reached a deal with the front office. Yes, as we expected, Landry Shamet, he is going to be on the roster. I think he is going to be in the rotation and getting some of those guard minutes. He might eat into some of Campaign's minutes. Campaign, who has been playing well, but Shamet can really shoot. He gives you a little bit more length and a little bit more defense than Payne does. And it was all kind of shaping up that way in preseason as far as the rotation. He goes out with the shoulder, but now he's back. And the one issue I have with the Knicks right now is I would like to get at least one more guy in the rotation, and we can cut down on some of those Bridges and Hart minutes and OG minutes. Getting Precious back was big for that because Tibbs actually trusts Precious. So he can play some of those minutes at the 4 that OG was logging. So that should bring his minutes down a little bit. I just think that Josh Hart and Bridges, we want to keep these guys as fresh as possible. Tibbs sometimes unfairly gets the moniker of being a guy who runs his guys into the ground. I don't always think that's fair. But when you look up in 3 of the top 10 minute per game in the league are all Knicks, when 3 of them are Knicks, you start to say, all right, this can't be sustainable. And we've dealt with some injuries. And now, we need Deuce to be getting his 20-25. We need Precious to be getting his 15-20. Give me another 10 from Shamet. And just peel off a few of those minutes for Josh Hart and for OG and for Bridges. That would help a lot. Matt Ryan being waived, no one cares at the end of the day. He's seems like a nice guy. He's a good cheerleader. He's supposed to be a shooter. Wasn't hitting a ton of shots, but yeah, at the end of the day, Matt Ryan was never going to be a big piece for this team. And Keith, you said you've been voting for OG. They won't get many defenders in the All-Star game. You're right. I think that OG has a case because of what he does on both sides. I don't think there's any way he's going to make the All-Star team. Just because the average fan doesn't have, you know what? you know what, Keith, you kind of making me feel like I should be throwing that OG vote in there too. I'm with you on that. Because a lot of he won't get in, but he deserves to, as far as his ability to affect the game. And I thought that last night was a perfect example. He wasn't great on the offensive end. He was good, 16 points. I'll take it from you, OG. But he really, really did just get out there and totally change the game defensively. Buzzer beater, you're right. Sims did play well last night. Sims was in there for that third quarter run after Cat picked up his fourth foul. Sims gets in there and he was affecting shots. He was moving his feet on defense, which he does very, very well. Offensively, he's still, he doesn't even look at the basket sometimes and he can't catch. But Sims gave you good minutes last night. He got us a couple extra possessions with some offensive rebounds. Sims did play very, very well. Yeah, and I agree with you, Buzzer Beater. It's the one criticism of Tibbs, and I love Tibbs. He's the best coach we've had since Van Gundy. I do think it is a little bit overblown as far as the minutes thing. But this year, thus far, there's not a lot of games where I'm looking at them and I'm saying, oh, well, we're up by a ton. We need to get guys out. He's done better at that this year, calling off the dogs. But at the end of the day, when you look at the totality, it's like, we got to figure something out. This is not sustainable. And hopefully Shamet can do that. Buzzer Beater, you're asking, is Shamet game ready? He just played in the G League last week. I know that. So I think he's ready to go. His shoulder injury, he's able to keep up his cardio. So he should be good to go. I think that he will be, from everything that I've heard about, how Tibbs feels about him. And also if you look at, what the rotations were in the preseason, I think Shamet's going to get right into that rotation very quickly. Would love to see OG get in, man, but I just don't think it's going to happen. I think it's going to happen. But hey, everybody just relax. We're 18-10. I know that not too long ago, after that Atlanta loss, I was concerned, and a lot of Knicks fans were. But when you look up and we're 13-4 in our last 17, we've won 5 straight on the road. Brunson is continuing to show that he is that superstar 1A player. Cat is balling out of control. We're getting healthier. Mitch hopefully can be back by, end of January, maybe early February is the most recent timetable that I've heard. And that's going to be another adjustment. It's going to be another adjustment that we have to make. Last night in the game, I also thought that Precious gave some good minutes. Deuce, you're not going to see Deuce shoot 1 of 6 very often. 0 of 3 from behind the arc. So I would take Deuce in all the overs in this next game against Toronto, because Deuce does not have shooting performances like that back to back almost ever. So yeah, you're going to see Deuce fill it up in this next game. I think so. Cameron Payne, he was 1 of 2. Yeah, and Sims gave you 8 boards last night, 4 offensive. We'll take that from you, Sims. He's a plus 17 on the night too. That's plus 17 in 12 minutes. Well done. He was on the floor when Brunson went off, so that has something to do with it. But yeah, I thought that the Knicks overall, they just took care of business. That's the type of game you win when you're a good team. When you're a good team, you take care of business, even when you don't have your best. You're not shooting the ball well. At one point, I think in like the second quarter, the Knicks were shooting in the 30s, maybe even the beginning of the third. And they were able to just stay close enough. Don't let it get too crazy. And then the captain just went ahead and took care of it for us. Knicks shoot 40% from 3, and they end up getting up to 43% from the field, which is not horrible. Knicks are closer up to that. They're up around 50, damn near 49 from the field. So, I mean, it'll be interesting to see. We now have RJ and the Raptors coming in on Monday. And then on Christmas Day, we have Wemby, who had 30 points and 10 blocks. Cat is going to school Wemby. Watch. He going to take Wemby to school. He going to show Wemby what's good real quick. because the pump fakes, the ability to dribble and get past him. He's going to get Wemby in foul trouble. He's going to school Wemby. Cat's first game for the Knicks on Christmas Day to open up Christmas Day, a Knicks tradition. Come on, man. He's going to be real hype about that. I think he's going to give Wemby the business. Wemby's getting a lot of hype. He's been playing out of his mind recently. He's doing his thing. He's an MVP candidate. And the Spurs are better than people expected them to be. Get well soon, Greg Popovich. Who knows if we'll see him back on the bench this year with his health issues that he's going through. But, Chris Paul, they got that kid Castle. Spurs got a decent young team, and Wemby's playing well. Watch my boy Cat. He going to put the little puppy in his place on Christmas morning. We're going to see it. Last time that we played against the Spurs, Wemby did not have a good game last season when we played them. Wemby did not have a good game. Watch. We're going to see what Cat does. Mark my words. He's going to get him. He's going to teach him a little something. And the Knicks are going to get that game too. Knicks have a chance right now. If you look at their schedule, man, they got a chance to run off some wins, man. You got the Raptors at home. That should be a dub. Spurs will be favored in that game as well. I'm not going to say it should be a dub, but I feel good about it. The Magic, everybody's injured. Everybody. Both of the Wagner brothers, Ben Carroll, got to get that one. Wizards, then we get a back-to-back home and home. No, both, not home and home. They're both in Washington. We get Wizards back-to-back, and then we get the Jazz. Yo, man, this is the time right now. This is the time. Jazz, and then after that, we get the Thunder, which that's a Friday night game at 8 o'clock. That'll be, a game that a lot of people will be paying attention to. Knicks versus Thunder, especially if we're able to run off a little winning streak leading up to it. And, we get that record looking like what we all expected and what it should be. 18-10 feels good. There's about 4 losses that I can think of to whack teams that I think back and look back on and be like, man, we could be. But hey, that's the past. Bridges is getting it done. He's doing his thing. The Knicks are playing defense. And I just feel like they have a chance right now to go on a little winning streak, to be able to build up that win column to a point where, you really feel strong about definitely at least being the 3 seed and maybe even battling for the 2 or the 1 in the Eastern Conference. Cleveland don't lose. They like 25-4 last time I checked. Boston looks good as well. But the Knicks, I think, are clearly a contender in the Eastern Conference and in the NBA. And I think that we will continue to build out some depth, get some guys back. We get Shamet back. We get Mitch back. And guys start falling into their roles. If Bridges continues to build his confidence, I mean, his shot, man, the way he releases it high and the way he can catch a ball like this and not have to reload and just boom, put it up, it's excellent. It's excellent. And that fadeaway in the lane, it seems like it never misses. And now I got him cutting back door and, laying kids and, he's pulling up from 3 with confidence and he's navigating screens and locking down very good offensive players like Anthony Edwards. Yo, man, Bridges, he took a little bit of time to get going, but he seems like he's got it going. And it's a beautiful thing to see. The chemistry with, him, Hart, and Brunson, obviously these guys couldn't know each other any better. And you see it on the floor. But it's that whole entire Knicks team and just how they play. It's a system of movement, of finding the open man, trusting the pass, all those Tibbs-isms. That's what the system is. These guys are buying in, and they're getting it done. And it's a good time to be a Knicks fan. It really, really is. And now we just got to stack some dubs. Get me that Christmas Day. Because starting off my Christmas, it's 10 a.m. for me out in Arizona. Starting that off with a Knicks win really affects the rest of my day. It's Christmas. I got 3 little kids. So, it's always going to be a good and a fun time and everything. But we watch the game. We're at my parents. It's me and my pops. If you don't know, we do a podcast called He Did This to Me. It's a weekly podcast. It comes out every week. We've been doing it for almost 70 weeks now. And It's he and I talking sports in general, talking some Knicks, talking some Mets, talking some Jets, but we also just talk about some of the biggest sports stories of the day, and that comes out every single week. So definitely hit the like, hit the subscribe, show your boys some love. I appreciate y'all being so, just active in the chat. It makes it a lot more fun to interact with you guys. Buzzer beater, Keith Watkins, appreciate y'all. Y'all got some great opinions, and I definitely appreciate the activity and the engagement for sure. And I appreciate my captain, Jalen Brunson. This is Nick on the Knicks.